Smoke burns your throat before you understand why you're coughing. There's shouting. Too loud, too close. Then a concussive bang that rattles your teeth and leaves your ears ringing. Flashlights cut through the haze in frantic, useless arcs. Someone stumbles into you. Someone else falls. You don't see where they land. Then, just as abruptly as it started, the noise collapses into silence. Not calm, not safety. Silence. If you're still listening, this is the point where you should understand something very clearly. This is not the beginning of a prison riot. This is the moment after the system has already failed. Before we go any further, take a second and ground yourself. Tell me where you're listening from, what time it is, and be honest. Do you think you would have survived a prison riot like this? Because what just collapsed around you wasn't chaos. It was order. You just hadn't noticed yet. A few minutes ago, there were rules. There were schedules. There was a structure that told you where to stand, when to move, and who was in charge. Now there's smoke on the floor, your heart racing too fast for what you've actually done, and no one giving orders. That's not chaos. That's free fall. Your breathing is already wrong. Too shallow. Too quick. You haven't run, but your body thinks you have. It's preparing for something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. This feels inconvenient, unsettling, manageable. That's the mistake. Your body is still reacting to commands that no longer exist. You wait for a voice over the intercom. You expect boots to hit the floor in formation. You brace for instructions because that's what comes next. It doesn't. The guards are gone. Not overwhelmed. Not fighting. Gone. They didn't run toward the noise. They ran away from it. You just didn't see it happen. Someone shines a flashlight down the corridor. The beam shakes. It catches on bars, bodies, smoke still hanging in the air, like fog that forgot how to move. Then the light clicks off. Another second of silence. That's when it hits you. There is no order coming back online. Prisons don't collapse the way movies train you to expect. There's no dramatic takeover. No single explosion that announces the end of control. What actually happens is quieter. Authority withdraws. Control rooms seal themselves. Secured zones lock down. The people who hold keys, codes, and permissions step behind barriers built specifically for moments like this. Moments where containment matters more than protection. The cameras are still watching. Of course they are. But watching isn't the same thing as intervening. Somewhere, footage is being recorded that no one is responding to. Rules technically still exist. Enforcement does not. This is usually the part where people assume help is delayed. It's not. Help has made a decision. Someone laughs. Too loud, too sharp. It echoes down the corridor and doesn't get corrected. Someone else shouts a name. No response. A door that should open on schedule stays closed. No one explains why. No one has to. The absence of consequence spreads faster than panic ever could. You feel it in the way people stop asking permission. In the way bodies start grouping together without discussion. In the way standing alone suddenly feels like a mistake you made on purpose. Your pulse won't slow down now. Your hands feel unsteady, even when you try to keep them still. Your body is burning energy. It doesn't have to spare. Nothing hurts enough to stop you. Not yet. This is where your brain starts scrambling for a script that no longer applies. You tell yourself this is temporary. That order always returns. That prisons are designed to handle unrest. That belief lasts exactly until someone blocks a corridor. And nothing happens. No warning. No response. No correction. That's escalation. Because the moment a pathway becomes owned, movement becomes permission-based. You now have fewer options than you did 5 minutes ago. Power doesn't wait for clarity. It reorganizes immediately. People move toward familiarity, toward reputation, toward whoever looks like they expected this. Groups form without announcing themselves. Hierarchies harden without needing names. Neutrality feels reasonable for about 5 minutes. After that, it starts to look suspicious. Someone asks where you're headed. Not aggressively, casually, as if they're making conversation. You hesitate, not because you don't know, but because you're trying to calculate the safest answer. That pause lands badly. Speed matters more than accuracy here. Confidence matters more than truth. Hesitation reads as uncertainty. Uncertainty reads as liability. No one has touched you yet. That doesn't mean you're safe. It means you haven't been categorized. At first, people still talk like this is temporary. That's the next mistake. They ask how long it's been. They talk about when the guards will come back. They speak in minutes, not consequences. Your body disagrees. Your breathing hasn't slowed. Your mouth is dry in a way water wouldn't fix. Your legs feel slightly unreliable. Not weak, just delayed, like there's a lag between deciding to move and actually doing it. This still feels survivable. That's the danger. The next escalation comes quietly. Someone claims space. Not with violence, with confidence. They stand in a corridor that used to belong to everyone and treat it like it belongs to them now. No one argues. No one tests it. That corridor is closed, which means movement is no longer free. You feel the map of the prison change in your head. Routes you used without thinking now require permission. Or risk. The place hasn't shrunk, but your options have. That's escalation. Because once movement is restricted, everything else follows. Groups stop drifting. They start locking in. You notice how conversations end when someone unfamiliar gets too close. How bodies tighten together instead of spreading out. Decisions are being made without discussion, and you are not part of them. Neutrality just lost its usefulness. Standing alone doesn't look calm anymore. It looks like an error no one has corrected yet. Someone watches you for a little too long. That's not paranoia. That's assessment. Your hands won't stop shaking now. You clench them, then release, then clench again. Your shoulders ache from being held too high for too long. Your body is burning energy. It doesn't have a plan to replace. You haven't been hurt, but you're already failing. That's another escalation. Because once your body starts degrading, decision-making follows. Someone asks who you're with. This time, it isn't casual. You answer, but not fast enough. That delay costs you something you can't see yet, because now you're remembered. This is where sorting accelerates. People who are useful are kept close. People who are tolerated are watched. People who are neither start drifting toward the edges of spaces no one feels responsible for. No one announces this system. Everyone understands it. Space fails next. Doors that once meant safety now mean containment. Cells stop being shelter and start being leverage. If you're inside one, you're cornered. If you're outside, you're exposed. There is no correct position left. This is where architecture finishes what authority started. Prisons are designed to remove choice. They work extremely well once no one is supervising them. You decide to move. That decision is an escalation all by itself. Movement draws attention now. People track who goes where and who comes back alone. Every step creates a narrative about you, and you don't control how it's interpreted. Someone steps into your path. They don't touch you. They don't threaten you. They just don't move. This is usually where people expect words to matter. They don't. Your hearing sharpens and dulls at the same time. Sounds feel closer than they should be. Your vision tunnels slightly. Peripheral details drop away. Your body is preparing for impact. It just doesn't know from where. This feels like panic. It isn't. Isn't. Panic is brief. This is sustained. Noise spikes somewhere down the block. Not screaming. Impact. Something heavy hitting something fragile. No one moves toward it. That's escalation. Because avoidance means everyone understands the rules have changed. Even if no one has explained them yet, you are not watching violence anymore. You are navigating around it. Hope shows up right on time. Someone says help is coming. They say it confidently. That's escalation too. Because hope, at this stage, doesn't calm people down. It makes them reckless. People start making moves they wouldn't have made 10 minutes ago. They take risks they can't undo. They trust signals that don't deserve trust. This is where bad decisions stack. Your breathing stutters now. Not fast. Uneven. You swallow and feel your throat tighten. Your legs feel heavier than they should. Nothing is technically wrong. Everything is. This is where survival fantasies collapse. Strength doesn't help if numbers decide. Skill doesn't help if perception overrides it. Being misread is enough. You realize something that settles cold in your chest. The riot isn't growing. It's stabilizing into a structure you don't understand, run by people who don't need you to understand it. You've lost neutrality. You've lost freedom of movement. You've lost the benefit of being overlooked. What you haven't lost yet is time. But it's thinning, and nothing ahead of you gets wider. By the time you notice how tired you are, the window has already closed. Your body doesn't ease into exhaustion. It gives up in stages. Your reactions lag. Your grip feels unreliable. Your balance starts correcting itself a half second too late. You keep telling yourself to focus. Focus doesn't fix oxygen. Your breathing is shallow now, uneven. Not fast enough to panic. Just wrong enough to matter. Your chest feels tight in a way that suggests something is being rationed without your consent. This still feels survivable. That's the last lie your body tells you. People stop waiting. That's the next escalation. Movement turns purposeful. Groups push boundaries instead of testing them. Corridors that were merely tense become contested. Territory expands, compresses, reshapes itself. Someone gets shoved. Not violently. Decisively. That's all it takes. The sound travels faster than fear. Bodies colliding with concrete, metal ringing where it shouldn't. You hear the change immediately. Everyone does. This has crossed into something that doesn't reverse. Violence doesn't explode. It spreads. And once it spreads, it doesn't need permission anymore. Avoidance fails completely now. You try to back away. Someone else surges forward. Another person tries to cut sideways. Space collapses into pressure, and suddenly your feet are touching the ground less than they should be. You are no longer choosing where you're going. You're being carried. That's escalation. Because motion is no longer voluntary. Someone grabs your arm. Not to help, just to keep themselves upright. Another body slams into your shoulder, hard enough to blur your vision. You hit the wall and slide, barely catching yourself. No one stops. They don't look. This is the part survival stories never include. Not that people become violent, but that they stop seeing. Your hearing distorts. Sounds flatten, then sharpen, then flatten again. Your peripheral vision fades like someone slowly dimming the room. Your legs feel heavy and light at the same time, a sensation that means your body is losing the argument. You try to take a deeper breath. It doesn't work. This isn't panic. Panic would have burned out by now. This is sustained failure. Then you hear boots. This is usually where people feel relief. They shouldn't. This isn't rescue. It's response. Riot suppression doesn't arrive to save individuals. It arrives to end disorder. Commands are shouted that don't care whether you understand them. Compliance becomes immediate or irrelevant. People surge again, toward walls, toward doors, toward anywhere that feels like shelter. That instinct gets people killed. Because the response doesn't distinguish between threat and obstacle. If you're moving, you're a problem. If you're still, you're in the way. There is no correct choice left. Force meets panic. Crowds compress into spaces designed to give way to no one. Bodies pin against bars, concrete, steel. Your chest can't expand properly now. Your feet barely touch the floor. This is where strength stops mattering. You cannot push back. You cannot fall safely. You cannot be seen. Your body reacts the only way it knows how under impossible pressure. Vision narrows. Thought fragments. Sound becomes distant, then sharp, then distant again. You are not thinking anymore. You are functioning. Poorly. Somewhere nearby, someone goes down and doesn't get back up. You don't see it happen. You hear the difference. The sound of pressure changing. The sound of something giving way that doesn't come back. Fear spikes again. Sharp, animal, irrational. People surge away from the noise directly into something worse. The compression tightens. Balance disappears completely. You are no longer standing. You are being held upright by bodies that are also failing. This is where death becomes unavoidable. Not dramatic. Not targeted. Mechanical. There is no villain here. No moment you can isolate and point to as the mistake. The system failed earlier. This is just the bill being collected. This is usually the moment people think someone will notice. They don't. Everyone is busy surviving their own version of the same thing. Eventually, movement stops. Not because it resolves, but because it can't continue. Force pushes the crowd back. Control reasserts itself the only way it ever does. The riot ends not with relief, but with silence again. A different silence. The kind that doesn't ask questions. Later, much later, reports will be written. Footage will be reviewed. Language will soften what happened into something manageable. Incident. Unrest. Contained. None of those words apply to you. Because you didn't survive the riot. Not because you were weak. Not because you made one bad choice. But because once the system collapsed, there was no path left that led anywhere else. A prison riot doesn't kill you because it's violent. It kills you because violence becomes structural. And structures don't care who you are when they fail. Before you leave, tell me one thing in the comments. Do you think you would have survived this? And if you're listening late at night, or alone, or somewhere quiet, tell me where you are and what time it is. Because the most dangerous part of a collapse isn't the violence. It's the moment you realize you were never meant to make it through.